and welcome to another episode of All the Mods 9. Today we're going to be getting into all things extreme. Last episode we left off with getting into extreme voltage. We got the microprocessor supercomputer. Since then I've made some platinum ingots, some black bronze dust, and these don't actually give you anything. But I did make some tantalum. I started processing tantalite. So we should have a bit of tantalum coming in. Not a lot, not yet. I'll need to add a pattern for this because we can also electrolyze tantalite into manganese, tantalum, and oxygen. But I figure since we're going to be tackling EV, we're going to need distillation towers, we're going to need vacuum freezers, we might need new electric blast furnaces, might need a fluid drilling rig, crackers, pyrolyze ovens. We're going to need a lot of multi-blocks. So I thought we could set up some patterns to craft the requirements for those and work on something else while they craft. And I thought what better thing to work on than extreme reactors? Because we keep it extreme here. High octane gaming. Speaking of, looking at this, we're going to need a lot of fluids. And if I look ahead at the next chapter, we need a lot of fluids. A lot of them. So hopefully we'll be doing ourselves a solid by making a lot of infrastructure this episode. Or at least preparing to make that infrastructure. We'll see how far we actually get. One thing I did do between episodes was I made the titanium B. All you need is a diamond B and an iron B, and they'll breed into the titanium B. There is a chance of getting the zirconium B by doing this. If you just take the B out and put it back in to your breeding chamber, eventually it should roll the titanium B rather than the zirconium B. Or if you want the zirconium B, vice versa. The titanium B is going to be nice once we manage to get a block of titanium, because it'll give us titanium comb, which will give us rutile dust. And rutile dust is something that we need to chemical react with carbon and chlorine to get titanium tetrachloride, so that we can then cook that in our blast furnace with magnesium to get hot titanium ingots. But you'll notice the temperature of this is over 2000 Kelvin. So we cannot cool this in a chemical bath. We have to use a vacuum freezer. We can only just now make the vacuum freezer because we have these EV tier circuits. Uh, Everything else I believe is high voltage for it, so we should be able to get away with high voltage components. Same thing for the distillation tower. We needed EV tier circuits, but we can use HV electric pumps and large fluid pipes. One of the things I was looking at, so the distillation tower, it has to be as tall as the number of outputs you'll need plus one. So in this example, say we're distilling something that has 3 outputs. The distillation tower is 3 blocks by 3 blocks by 3 plus 1 is 4 blocks. And you can keep hitting this P value, this P, to keep showing different versions of distillation towers until it resets. But the nice thing is it tells you how many casings you'll need, how many output hatches you need to make, input hatches, and so on. So I'm thinking the things we can distill will be like liquid air can be distilled at high voltage to give us nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, helium, and argon. We'll also get a chance at crushed ice. We'll have to do something with this crushed ice. Probably void it. I don't think it's used anywhere. And the other big use of the distillation tower, you'll see there's like 58, 57 recipes for it. There's a lot of stuff you can distill. And some of it is like severely hydrocracked, just regularly hydrocracked. Oil, what kind of oil, I'm not sure. I was wondering though if we could use the oily B. You have to fish in deep waters to catch the oily B. That's something I did ahead of time. But the oily comb, when processed, gives crude oil from thermal. I don't know if GregTech can handle crude oil from thermal series, but I'm sure gonna try. It doesn't show up in JEI, but to be fair, there is a GregTech version of oil, which also doesn't show up as being something you can distill in JEI. It's not until you look at like the distillation tower or the recipe for sulfuric heavy fuel that you'll see there is oil here. And you can see it kind of like shifts between different kinds of oil. The main way to tell is the temperature value changes. So I'm hoping we can use the oily B to get oil. We will see. Also need to find a bucket of oil. Looks like it can be pneumaticraft's oil or thermal's oil. I hope I can use whatever produces oil in the oceans, because that would be the easiest. Right, but so I'm planning on one distillation tower distilling oil, giving us four outputs: sulfuric heavy fuel, light fuel, naphtha, and gas. Each of these we have to desulfurize, which just uses hydrogen in a chemical reactor. It'll give you the desulfurized version and hydrogen sulfide. The desulfurized version, or just regular heavy fuel, light fuel, naphtha refinery gas, we can then make a cracker for and essentially mix it with steam, hydrogen, different values or different amounts of those to severely steam crack, severely hydrocrack, or just lightly steam or hydrocrack. That we can then distill, and we get a whole lot of outputs. So I'm thinking we have 5 distillation towers just for oil processing. One for oil, one for light fuel, gas, naphtha, and heavy fuel. The main outputs of the oil. Hopefully that'll put us in a good spot for the next chapter, IV. And we'll also set up 4 crackers or cracking units, which uses the same block as the distillation tower, but it also uses copper nickel coil blocks. It looks like you can use different coils to change how much energy is used in the cracking unit. I don't think we care about energy usage. The reason we go with the cracker to make the severely hydrocracked materials is because if we went with the chemical reactor, you can see there's 500 millibuckets of naphtha, 3 buckets of hydrogen, and you only get 250 millibuckets of the severely hydrocracked naphtha. Whereas in a cracker, you use 1 bucket naphtha, 6 buckets hydrogen, so just double the amount of the chemical reactor, but you get 1 bucket of severely hydrocracked naphtha. So the chemical reactor loses some of that in the process of cracking it, whereas this one does not. Since I'm planning on making 4 crackers, 4 cracking units, I'm going to need 64 copper nickel coil blocks. I'm going to set that crafting. I did order more stainless steel. We might make more electric blast furnaces. And we're going to definitely need the vacuum freezer. So I've got a lot of recipes to program and then a lot of things to order. I'll bring you back in when we're ordering the components once I've done the math to figure out how many we need of everything. I'll see you in just a second. I think I know how to add, but we'll see. I may have done it completely wrong, but if I need to make 4 of these cracking units, then I needed an extra 16 coil blocks, which I ordered 16 more of those since each one of these uses 4 copper nickel coil blocks to make one. I need some input buses. I only need these to set circuit numbers in the cracking unit. I need 8 input hatches. Oops. I believe it doesn't matter how large my input hatch is for cracking fuel. Yeah, I don't need to buffer much. Same with output hatches. I need just 4 of those. Cracking happens at medium voltage, it looks like. Looks like it's the same almost everywhere. So I may hold off on energy hatches for this, but I'll definitely need maintenance hatches, and I'm going to need that clean stainless steel. I'm going to need 72 of them, and I'm going to need muffler hatches. It doesn't matter what tier muffler hatch I use. We look at one of our blast furnace. It's got tiny piles of ashes. It's just the chance of recovering ashes. And we don't actually have to clean this out. This can reach 4 stacks of 64 and just stay full of stuff. And that's okay. That's the cracking units. I'm going to cancel this recipe for cooking stainless steel. We're going to need 6 distilleries, 5 for oil, 1 for air. We're going to need 3 output buses for this. Only 3 of them have an item output. We're going to need 6 input hatches. Now for the distillery, I think I will make them at HV. Same with the output hatch. We need 6 input hatches. I didn't count how many output hatches I need. A lot. Hold on. I can add, I swear. I think we need 40 output hatches in total. We're going to need 6 energy hatches for this. I'm going to hold the energy hatches off for now. And we need this clean stainless steel casings. If I counted correctly, we need 317 more. And last but not least, we need 2 vacuum freezers, one for ingots, one for liquid air. I have no idea how this keeps getting toggled, what I'm doing to do that. We're going to need some maintenance hatches, just 2. The energy hatches, again, I'm going to hold off on. We need muffler hatches. Then we need an output bus, an output hatch, as well as an input bus and an input hatch. And the frost-proof aluminum machine casings, we should only need 40. And we're just making sulfuric acid for fun. This is going to take us a long time, especially any craft like this that has to make stainless steel. That's okay though. While these things are running, I'll leave their items favorited for now. I did make this laser engraver at high voltage, looking at the orange glass lens and sodium potassium. I was taking a peek at the high voltage energy hatch, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. But we could. I think I'm only missing sodium. Looks like there are a few options here. We might go with salt. electrolyzing salt for our sodium needs. We'll go with the Railcraft saltpeter since we have a good deal of that for some reason. While these things craft, I will start extreme reactors. First things first is making graphite. Easy enough. All we do is smelt coal. I'll do this a stack at a time because we have our handy dandy coal bees. And I made a new unobtainium furnace with a pattern provider on it because we ran out of space in our old one. Yay. I've eaten steak. I don't need to keep it. I'm just going to work through crafting these components. I probably won't set anything up yet until I've got enough to make a 15 by 15 by 15 reactor. And I know the quest has us go through a 3 by 3 by 3 basic one. I will make that, and then I'm going to delete those parts because I don't need them. Because we'll be going with reinforced reactor parts. It just needs blocks of iron, steel, and graphite. Yeah, we'll go straight to reinforced because that can be much bigger. 32 by 32 by 48 is the maximum size. We're going to keep ours 15 by 15, I think. But I'll make the components so we can complete these quests. Be back shortly once I've got those bits and bobs. We're back. So I decided to go in this corner for the 15 by 15 by 15 reactor. And this thing is a dirty reactor, meaning I like normally when you set up a reactor, you want to have your things in like a checkerboard pattern. So like diagonally, not right next to each other. And well, inside of here, I put them all right next to each other. Every fuel rod is touching every other fuel rod. I already started putting some uranium in. I wanted it to be dirty so that it runs as hot as possible. The hotter it is, the faster it's going to burn fuel. The faster it burns fuel, the faster we get waste. So if I just turn this on, you can see we're already generating some waste. I think I can come over here and ask it to just eject waste every now and then once we have a bucket worth. It should automatically eject one bucket as a cyanite ingot. And it looks like it did. Now, the way we can tell that that's going to happen in JEI is we have to look at reactants reactions. This tab of extreme reactors and like the reactant version tells you that verdarium will when it goes through a reactor, the waste product is rosinite. Plutonium, the waste product is magentite. Yellorium, or in our case uranium, same thing, the waste product is cyanite. We can also see the reprocessor recipes. It's like the main way we can figure out what exactly it is we're making is by using JEI. Fluid to vapor, vaporization. I don't think we need those tabs. The item to reactant, that's how I know you can use uranium and it turns into yellorium. Yellorium then turns into cyanide. I'm going to make some cyanide. Going to let this just generate waste for us because I see that there is a cyanide bee. And it looks like if I give one block of cyanide to a radioactive bee, which I think we have radioactive bees, so I need 2 blocks of cyanide because there's nothing saying I can't breed cyanide bees. I'll start breeding cyanide bees, get a bunch of them going. We can get cyanide without waiting for our reactor to just burn fuel. Thankfully, extreme reactors, you don't have to worry about this thing blowing up or overheating. It is a-okay to be very hot. I won't hit scram. If you do, on the top here, your reactor control rods, all of them get set to 100% inserted, which shuts the reactor off. I want them all to be at 0%. At 0%, that's what makes it run as fast as possible. I guess I should be breeding some radioactive bees. So I'll come back once I've got some bees going. We're getting lots and lots of cyanite. We need the cyanite because we need to make waste reprocessors. We also need to make fluidizers. And most of the crafts are finished except for the one that's making all of our clean stainless steel casings. We need 1,126 more stainless steel ingots, which is going to take far too long. Far, far too long. But that's okay. It gives us plenty of time to do extreme reactors. So yeah, I'll be back once I've gotten some cyanite bees going, and we'll see what to do next. Real quick, so I just thought I'd show how to turn a cyanite bee spawn egg into a plutonium bee spawn egg. You can see the radioactive bee will do item conversion on a cyanite bee spawn egg and turn it into this. Normally, you'd have to have your items out in the world, but we simulate our radioactive bees with a feeding slab. You can just put your cyanite bee spawn egg right on the feeding slab, and eventually you'll see it appear in the hive once it's been processed. I think the radioactive bees just had a cycle. There we go. We've got our bees. You only have to give the treat to one of them. The other one doesn't have to be very special. Now I've got plutonium bees. One of them is very good, the other one is not good. But remember, you just put the one that's very good on the left slot, and the baby will inherit those traits. I did have to expand the bees a little bit, needed space for 8 more, since we have the titanium bee and the cyanide bee taking up the last 2 spots available. And we've already got over 3,000 cyanide. So I think we're in a pretty good position once we breed up a bunch of plutonium bees. We'll have plenty of plutonium. Plutonium is one of those that I'm still going to have to use the waste reprocessor with water to turn cyanide into plutonium because I need the block for my bees to pollinate. But that's alright. Before we know it, we'll have so much plutonium and cyanide we won't even know what to do. And I decided I wouldn't capture the honey from this heated centrifuge, so I'm not going to put one of these dimensional tanks next to it. Because if we look, we've already got almost 4 million honey blocks. I don't think we need it. So yeah, now that we've got some cyanide, we've got some plutonium bees coming together, I am going to build the waste reprocessor and the fluidizer. Well, after I finish these bees. So I'll see you once we've gotten that put together. Turns out the quest here is kind enough to tell you that you need 52 reprocessor casings. And it shows you how to build it. It's a hollow 3 by 3 by 7 structure. The frame has to be entirely built out of the casings, and the walls you can have the controller block and so on. The only weird part of it would be the bottom middle. I'm going to build this in the corner here. Has to be the collector. And the top has to be the waste injector. Let's put our controller here, put an output port right here, a fluid injector right here, and the rest can be casings. I guess we need power. We'll put power off hidden in the back here. Very nice. But yeah, it turns out you only needed 52 casings after crafting the other block parts. You can just turn this on and leave it on. That way it'll always be running. And first we're going to give this water and some cyanide. This should turn into 32 plutonium ingots for us. So it's all done. Yeah, the quest book looks actually really good for this. It won't stay on water forever. So our next step will be making lutecrite and radiculite. Lutecrite requires liquid cyanite to reprocess plutonium into lutecrite. And radiculite looks like it uses liquid magentite, and it takes lutecrite and reprocesses it into radiculite. So we've got our work cut out for us. I'm just going to try and use the rest of this water in the system. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize plutonium and plutonium were the same thing. But now we should have plutonium bees. All we have to do is give them their block and make sure that plutonium is in here. Now these bees should start working for us, producing plutonium. I'm not sure if I'll make lutecrite and reticulite bees, since they can't breed with themselves, and I have to use a cyanide bee to reprocess the egg of plutonium bees into lutecrite. And reticulite, I believe, is the same way. It takes a magentite bee spawn egg, a lutecrite bee to make reticulite. We have to use magentite bees can use can breed with each other. So we'll probably make magentite bees, but I'm still not sure about lutecrite. Or reticulite for that matter. Maybe. We've already got over 500 plutonium, just like that. And all we did was set up some bees and we made 37 plutonium ingots to start. Bees are incredibly powerful, so maybe we do go for the bees. Got the cyanide bee, so we can knock that one off the list. We've got plutonium, we can knock that one off the list. We built the reprocessor. Looks like our next step is going to be, oops, filling our reactor with plutonium because we need to make magentite. Remember, we look at reactants, reactions, we see plutonium reacts to turn into magentite. Looks like I left this thing running on accident. We'll turn it off and I will eject the fuel. The downside is it comes out as yellorium. I don't think we need yellorium for anything. So I'm actually just going to delete that and going to tell it to void all reactants. Turn it back on, and let's stick some plutonium in. Same thing as before, this will now just make magentite for us. Not very fast. I think this one's considerably slower, but that's okay. I'll make a little plan for the bees, whether or not we're going to go for these. And, yeah, we'll go from there. All right. Between cuts there, I did decide to make the ludocrite and radiculite bees. These bees can't breed amongst themselves. You have to make the spawn egg, like the other bees. But magentite bees can breed with themselves, so it was pretty easy to get 5 of these, make the ludocrite bee, convert it into a radiculite, and the radiculite bee, I had the, wait, other way around, plutonium made ludocrite spawn eggs with the cyanite bee, because the plutonium bees can breed with themselves. So it was easy enough to just breed and squish until I had 5 full DNA samples of plutonium and magentite bees. In between cuts, I also built 2 of these fluidizers. I just went with the smallest size, which is 3 by 3 by 3. Put the controllers on the top, made sure to share power between them. And one has just one output port, one solid injector. I was using this so that I could make liquid magentite as well as liquid cyanite so that I could convert plutonium into ludocrite, ludocrite into radiculite, so that my bees could then do the rest of the work for me. So now I have tons of radiculite, tons of ludocrite, insane amounts of magentite, plutonium, and cyanite. I won't go further with those bees. Now we need to make rosinite. To do that, we need to make verdarium. To make verdarium, we need to mix. We could do solid mixing, plutonium, and uranium. So it's a 2 uranium, 1 plutonium kind of mix. We could also use ingots. I'll use blocks. It's the other fluidizer I built. Just has 2 solid injectors and 1 output port. I'm using a dark tank to store the fluid. So let's get ourselves some plutonium blocks and uranium blocks. And hopefully this should start making verdarium. It doesn't appear to be doing anything. Ah, it's not doing anything because it's meant to make 18 buckets at a time, and this thing has an internal buffer of 4 buckets. So we'll have to use the ingot recipe. Now, hopefully this should start giving us verdarium. I'm going to make enough of this stuff, maybe enough to fill this dark tank 2 times, maybe 3. That way I can easily set it up over here. I'll just put it in the fuel injection port, and we'll use this passive fluid port to pull the waste out, because rosinite has no ingot form, so it won't come out of the solid access ports. And verdarium has no ingot form, so we can't use the solid access ports at all. I did go ahead and just void all reactants in the reactor to prepare for this. Yeah, I'll be back once I've got quite a bit of verdarium. Unfortunately, it turns out all things extreme are extreme in the sense of how long it takes. We're still crafting stainless steel. It's been between cuts overnight. It's been an entire night. And then we have to build the thing. So it's an investment of time for sure, but it's worth it for good infrastructure, I think. Yeah, I'll see you once I've got some Verdarium in my reactor and we start getting Rossonite. All right. Between cuts there, I did make a digital miner. I realized to make Insanite, you need this Biniatite. Benitoite? I'm probably saying it wrong. You need this item, this crystal. You need 16. Every 16 will get you one Insanite with some Rossonite in the waste reprocessor. I think we have enough Rossonite. We had like 400 buckets a moment ago. I'm making Inanite. And if I did the math correctly, I only needed 288 Radiculite because I need to make 144 Inanite ingots. I think. I'll essentially just be turning them all into blocks, assuming I have netherite blocks. I should get 8 more of these Ananite ingots. I'm just planning for 18 of the blocks of Ananite so I can make 18 blocks of Insanite. This should be all of that processed. I made the digital miner and went to the nether to get this gem, and I used Silk Touch mode. It uses a crazy amount of power. It uses like 200,000 FE a tick. I just threw it all in this backpack to form here and then get annihilated with Fortune 3. I did not feel like mining it myself, even though I have Fortune 5, because we needed 2,304 of this stuff. I'd need something faster than a hopper for this. But there we go. There's our Insanite, which is a quest, and we can make one block for the other quest. Awesome. Let's go ahead and accept our rewards. I know there's a claim all button, but I'd rather do it one by one. Just so I can see what it is I'm getting. Block of gold. Oh wow, cooked pork chop. Some iron. An unobtainium bee spawn egg. That would be useful if we didn't already have an unobtainium bee. This is nice. A legendary gem. Oh, wow. The Ender Surge gem. A uranium Paxel. I don't want. Parrot spawn egg. Okay. Some avocado toast. Sure. A basic solar panel. I don't want. Packing drawer may come in handy. Prudentium essence. Refined obsidian. The block of gold. I've eaten buttered toast. I've eaten cooked pork chops. Void upgrades. Fortune 5. That's nice. The unobtainium bee spawn egg I do not need. But this flawless ender surge gem is really nice. We can upgrade it to perfect if we get another one, which will give us 2 levels to all enchantments on whatever we put it on. Upgrade base. Basic reactor casing. We don't care about that. And protection 3. I don't think we care about that either. Fortune 5 I'll keep, as well as this Ender Search gem. I'm gonna keep putting Benny to white, making Insanite until we've got 18 of these. And just like that, we have 18 Insanite Blocks. Got a little left over in here, as well as some leftover benitoite, these crystals. And we've got plenty of Rossonite. I think I'll leave these machines as like a little reminder of what we've done. I think that's pretty cool. And don't mind that there's this horrible fluid pipe, spaghetti wiring. It's just, we just won't talk about it. In my inventory, I've started putting together some of the things we need now for extreme voltage. I made the high voltage version of the advanced circuit assembler. Oh, nice. We got titanium without making anything in EV. I managed to make the high voltage energy hatches, which required this LPIC, or low power integrated chip, which required black steel. All we get is some steel and some sodium potassium, which we didn't get anything for. I think I'm going to save a lot of this processing. Did make 16, I made 6 16 amp energy converters, just trying to plan ahead a little bit. I think I have all 14 energy hatches we're going to need. And I was making a gas collector, planning ahead for liquid air distillation. And I made this auto maintenance hatch. The auto maintenance hatch, so we ran into an issue earlier. I didn't talk about it. Uh, but the my electric blast furnace, which was running stainless steel, had actually stopped running because it ran into a maintenance issue. So it's a really low chance, as like the electric blast furnace or any multi-block with a maintenance hatch is running recipes. It's a very low chance that it'll actually run into a maintenance issue. And then you'll have to rectify it manually for it to start running again. Some maintenance issues, I think will stop the machine completely. Some will make it take longer to process recipes. So you got to keep an eye on it. Or at high voltage, you can make two maintenance hatches and you give up four high voltage circuits to make the auto maintenance hatch. This maintenance hatch will automatically resolve any problems that come up and keep things from breaking. For some reason, it was a requirement of the vacuum freezer. Just one. So we have it now. We'll use it. It'd be nice to make like however many of these, 11 more. But that is a lot of stainless steel. Yeah, it can't hurt. I'll order it. It's got a lot of processing to do before it makes it all. But it'll be nice to have when we set up our cracking units, our distilleries, our vacuum freezers, some new electric blast furnaces, I think will be necessary rather than, you know, ordering on demand stainless steel all the time. Considering it is a 55-second recipe, we could set up a passive, just all the time running blast furnace just for stainless steel. With that, though, pretty happy with our 18 Insanite blocks. I think I'll call this episode complete. Thank you if you made it this far. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. Next time, we're going to be getting into oil processing, which I think will be a lot of fun. We're going to check out that oily bee, see if we can use that oil, and go from there. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.